Hello, my name is Jennifer. I'm currently a senior here at TWU. I'll be graduating this December, which feels both exciting and surreal at the same time. I'm originally from New Orleans. I was born there. However, my family moved up here when I was in elementary school. I want to say fifth grade. So adding, the time spent here and the time in New Orleans, I would be considered a Texan. By nature, I am more the introverted side. I've always loved activities, that let me be creative, and just more solitary, if you will. But recently, I have been pushing myself to step outside of that comfort zone. So I've been engaging and spending time more outdoors, such as swimming, horseback riding, or even just going out into more like, I guess you can say, like doing activities that encourage social interactions. One of my favorite ways to recharge is, a recent one of my favorite ways to recharge is volunteering. It's something I've started doing more and more, and it's something, just very meaningful for me. The volunteering that I'm focusing on right now, before it was community, right now it is more so with animal rescue and fostering, simply because I did rescue a dog recently, and, I've always wanted a dog, and just it's different when you are, it's kind of hard to explain, but when you hear about the atrocity and the animal cruelty, and you want to be like, okay, I want to help, and then when you start volunteering and you're like, wait, I can actually, I may not be able to do big changes, but I can do something. So yeah, that's something that I've been doing recently, and I really enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing where it takes me. When it comes to movies and TV shows, I am pretty simple, I would say. I enjoy history documentaries, true crime, nothing too graphic. I do have, a fine line where I draw. Early 2000 films. I guess you can also say maybe I have a guilty pleasure of reality shows. Not many, but especially because my mom watches The Real Housewives, so me eavesdropping, I'll have seen, interesting scenes, and you kind of get hooked, as people say. Career-wise, it's been quite of a winding path. Up until last spring, I want to say, I was actually a biology major. I planned to head to medical school. My focus was either neurosurgery or psychiatric work. So like as long as I can remember, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. I knew I wanted to help people. So for me, that wasn't hard to, just assume, okay, like if I want to help people and I want, I enjoy medicine, if you will, or healing, I would say more so you should just go to medical school. That's what I always was told, and that was always my plan. However, my junior year, I definitely started to really question whether that plan fit was, who I actually am and like what I actually want to do with my life. I've always, like I said, been fascinated with people, with why they do what they do and how life experiences shape their choices and their identities. The medical path started to feel very clinical, maybe abstract in my opinion, and not fully in line with what I was very passionate about. So in the final hour, as my advisor here told me, I switched to psychology, and honestly, I've loved it ever since. I've found that the department, the professors have been very supportive. The stress level is not nearly as strenuous as the biology department and biology was. So yeah, it's definitely, again, when you're told one thing and you're just going on that pathway, like you do feel, hey, I don't feel at peace about it. And that was definitely me. I still knew I wanted to help people, but when I finally realized, hey, like psychology is such a broad career than as it was years ago, I really enjoyed making the switch, and I haven't looked back with regret. I actually look forward to, seeing where I can go and like all these like plans that I have. It's much more clearer now. I see this course in global psychology connecting to my future career because no matter what direction I take, whether it's clinical, practice, research, or something community-based, I'm going to be working with people whose lives are influenced by culture, identity, and context. Psychology doesn't it doesn't exist in a vacuum, as we know. A person's window view, their struggles, even the way they interpret mental health and healing, all that is tied to a culture. So for me, learning to approach psychology from a global perspective means that I can be better equipped to meet people where they are instead of imposing a one-size-fits-all model. That feels very essential for becoming the kind of professional, I'll say healthcare provider that I want to be. The three multicultural issues that I've always been especially curious to explore, particularly in this course, it's going to be mental health stigma across the cultures. Here, this is just something I've noticed in some communities. Seeking therapy or talking about mental health is normalized, where in others, as we have seen, it's stigmatized or even taboo. So for me, I would like to understand the cultural roots of those differences and how professionals can bridge that gap. The second is trauma and resilience, specifically how people in different cultural settings process traumatic experiences, whether it's war, migration, poverty, or discrimination, and how those cultural traditions or community values shapes resilience. Lastly is identity and belonging. I think that a lot of identity shifts from when people move between cultures, like immigrants or first-generation students, as we talked about in class this past week, and how they reconcile those multicultural influences. That's an area I would like to study more deeply. In terms of challenges for this class, the only one that stands out for me is making sure I just don't see things through my own, cultural lens, as we tend to do, we're humans. I know that it can be easy to interpret everything through the way that I grew up and what feels normal to me, but that risk is missing the bigger picture. Another challenge that I might encounter is pushing myself to engage actively in in-class discussions, because again, it goes back to my naturally introverted nature. So speaking up, it's something that I do when I feel comfortable around others, but when I'm learning and just observing and wondering, okay, should I speak up now? Like, is what I want to say appropriate? So yeah, I've been working on that, and I think this class will give me the good space to grow in that area. So that's a little bit about me. And, that's why I'm excited for this course. I'm really looking forward to learning alongside all of you and hearing your perspectives. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.